In the year of my death. When I was 25, the shadow reader said I would live to a ripe old age. He licked his finger, flicked a page, and told me the year of my death. That year has arrived. Out of the rose garden. When you come away from the rose garden, your eyes have changed colour in the rain, and the scent of attar follows you home. You arrive in the city of pointing fingers to keening sirens and beeping phones, the clicking, the screens all on, and you still have petals falling from your mouth. You cross from corner to corner, a fugitive in this time. Your eyes are watercolour. In them, the city and all its workings have been stamped with guilt. The script blazes over the walls of the meat market, but the streets are brambled, thorned, and on the illuminated borders there are drops of blood. Story. In the manuscript, the verses are written on pages washed with subtle colour, aquamarine, coral, peach. The artist worked with a crafty hand and picked out this one word in blue, hikayat, story. On the gold-flecked page, an insect has bitten through the edge of story. Silverfish, I hope you swallowed that sliver of guilt. But the roses are savages that will eat you alive given the chance. The map of this country is made of scars. They will put the body on a slab for examination. No. Out of respect for this body, no. There will be an inquiry to determine, no. It is clear the missile came from, no. There was some jostling, two sides clashing, no. As we heard on the news, no. There is no clear indication, no. Both sides were at fault, no. Seen from above, it looks like grief wrapped in a shroud of dust, but the blood has seeped so long and deep it could be a ring of rust. Out of respect, the wounds will be washed, inspected, and sewn up to look like a map of a country that does not exist. They will carry the body as if it's a homeland they have lost and brought to a field of poppies to anoint and lay to rest. On their shoulders they will carry the coffin. Yes, the mourners will lift their hands to honor her. Yes, there will be a bullet. Yes, there will be jostling. Yes, the body will spill out. Yes, this is a wound opening. Yes, this is a country being torn. Yes, again and again and again. Yes, a person falling apart. Yes, and everyone watching. Yes, did we watch this happening? Yes. Did anyone see? No. Face to face. Who is telling this? The one who gives the gift or the one who takes? Can the writer be forgiven by the one who is written? Does the warp look back at the one who's weaving and say, this is not how I remember it, not how it happened at all? Who belongs in this thing you're making? The rose garden throws away its symmetry and lifts off the page with a mind of its own. The wind spreads rumors and a new language blows in, written in a script that looks like your heart beating. Windows tilt to catch the truth at a different angle. Our shadow lies on this page, reader. Your hand slides off parchment to touch human skin. Open the other face. Look in. The show. Colonel Blair and his family and an Indian ayah by Johann Zofani, 1786. Not an ayah, you want to say, a child. The portrait painter gives them a noble version of themselves to take back home and hang above a marble fireplace. Husband and wife clasp hands, dead center, flanked by porcelain daughters. They have allowed the extra girl into the frame. They do not mind if her clothes are frayed and mended, washed and washed again, pounded to softness on a stone. They think of themselves as kind masters. She has been given a cat to hold. On the wall is a landscape with elephant and scenes of savage customs. A widow on her way to a funeral pyre, a tableau of torture. This will be a conversation piece in Perthshire. The child is wide-eyed, caught in a performance that goes on for years in polite rooms full of rustling silk. It makes a sound like scavengers circling in the undergrowth. Witness. Sometimes the truth is not a beacon, but a small flame, or only the light of a phone falling on the face of a witness. Letters home. Through steam and wood smoke, the train slides in. The boys who stood straight as sugar cane have come back changed, spilled out of carriages, still wearing the emperor's uniform. There are no crowds today, no brass or beating drums, only the sullen silence, the sidling sideways glance, the kind of looks that shadowed them in England and through France. The letters went back and forth through the hands of spies, read by so many eyes the words were all used up before they arrived. This wasn't our fight, but a fight is a fight, and we stand shoulder to shoulder. The enemy who paid their wages has travelled back with them, and they say the war has ended. But what kind of peace is this when the crop is blasted, home a bitter kiss? Did anyone say what happened to the girl? There's a picture on the phone. She's still here, in a lavish room, in her own country. She is still the ayah. Only the masters are new. This is not a prayer mat. It is the prayer. Shadow reader. Midday, and we're climbing the stairs from perfect electronics and electric dreams to the second floor in one of those buildings that had a life before it was painted pistachio green, blistered by time and salt off the sea. Bunches of wires swagger up the stairwell, wagging a finger, ready to coil and drag me up if I falter. I don't want to know my future. All I want is to turn around and walk away down Chapati Beach, along the shore where the coconut sellers and paper windmills are. But these are early days, when I still give in to other people's whims. So here I am, standing at a spidered door, waiting to meet the shadow reader. The shadow reader is measuring. He whips out a notched ruler and mumbles numbers onto a tattered square-line jotter, adds, subtracts, reaches up behind his head without looking back, pulls out a scroll and reads. He shakes his head, sucks his teeth. The shadow unrolls, dissolves, and starts to seep into the cracks where the linoleum is missing or scratched. It goes from black to purple, becomes detached, swims away from my feet, changes to fish, art, elephant, continent, writes itself in 5 languages, 10 scripts, grows wings. It is Gilgamesh, Mahabharat, epic. It belongs to the soil and the air. It never looks back. Saying no. Even at 25, I could do without astrologers telling me what I should not do. But that was before I learned the art of saying no. No one knew how much I didn't want to go. So here I am, stuck with the shadow reader's long-term headfuck. Where you belong. You can squat in this room if you don't say a word. You can stay in this town if you pay for a room. You can go on this train if it's off-peak. You can speak your mind if you change your look. You can have your chance if you don't expect luck. You can be in the group if you get enough likes. You can live with family if you toe the line. You can keep your children if you countersign. You can enter this church if you quote the book. You can open the book if you close your mind. You can save our time if you follow the rules. You can play a role if you buy the mask. You can take on the task if no one else wants it. You can ask the question if you never offend. You can belong, but only if you don't stay too long. You can end it now or start over again. You can follow the signs but never turn back. You can see you have run out of time and years. You can leave in tears or go with a laugh. You can take your clothes but leave your shoes and that attitude behind. It does you no favors, and you can do us a favor. Don't change your mind. Back. When the person holding your passport says you'll have to go back where you came from, you're 4 again, crossing the bridge at Jamaica Street, the River Clyde rolling under your feet, away to sea where the ships set sail. And when the woman in the queue mutters, "This is not where you belong," you think of the way light plays hide and seek over the hills on the Sunday morning ride up the Campsie Fells. And when the man outside the pub looks you up and down and says, "Go back to your country," you know you could squash the stoter if you could be bothered with "Go back to your cave and bile your heed, you dolly walloper." And even if you're wired to the moon, that's when your heart comes home and you cooree doon, all of Glasgow shining in your window, because this is where you came from, the place that will always have your back. For the minicab driver who looked as if he needed feeding. He looks so young, his hands bony at the wheel. I wonder if he's been out all night, what he might have had for breakfast, and what he eats when his shift ends, whether his mother makes him Punjabi samosas, or Bengali mustard fish, or Kerala rice. If he prefers the mangoes of the north like me, or the sweeter ones from further south. Before I can stop them, the words fall out of my mouth. And where are you from? I mean, your people. They land somewhere on the back of his neck, slide into the rear-view mirror, roll into his eyes. He looks back for 1 second, and his face is a passport, and his back is a flag, and he says, "Barnsley," and I pay and get out. For the woman who will bring biryani next time. For the woman who will bring biryani next time. Doctors these days. This one is a bachcha, 12 years old. What will he understand of this lumbering body with its pain on the left and its groan on the right, and everything creaking like my father's bullock cart in between? He looks ready to drop. He's tapped and listened to 22 bodies today, every age and colour, the whole of the morning queue. I have to pull up my kameez and undo the pyjama, but it doesn't matter. I'm old enough to be his grandmother, and there's nothing he hasn't seen. "Breathe out," he says. and his hands are on the belly going after the quarry, just palpating the liver. I think of my mother folding me up in her big body, holding me to her heart, but she would say liver, kaleja, the place where love lives. You are my liver, she says. And this doctor child is holding my liver through folds of flesh and skin. How long has it been since anyone touched this thing as if it was precious, as if it was the Koh-i-Noor? I was in the bar of the station hotel in Hull one day when I imagined seeing Philip Larkin sitting at another table drinking a beer. And I wondered, would I go up and speak to him? Never. Would he even see me? No, of course not. I would be nothing more than an unwelcome blot at the edge of his vision. When I was playing with that thought, I moved on to kind of bring him back as a young man and began to construct an imaginary profile on a dating app. If he were ever on such an app, what would he give away about his real life? Swiping left on Larkin. Here, he's younger, his shoulders thinner. She flicks a finger, swipes left. He is dismissed without a flicker. If they pass on the street, she sees a boy trudge by with a book and satchel under the arm, on the way to a lifetime of drudge, easy to overlook. In the edge of his eye, she is a blur between staying or dying, a whiff of abroad, the chaos of prams and infants teething. At the end of every birth is grieving. He takes the dark for a walk, his light on a leash through the sputtering streets of a town caught in the act of drowning. From a window, a curtain is waving, but his back is turned. Shops shut up and shutters come down on the chatter of living, the guttering years. All roads lead to a leaving. He goes into the bar of the station hotel, sits for a while. When he leaves a pale ring on the table. Gold spills out of basements over his feet. He walks down a street and out of his name. Beyond rumor and fame, a flurry of letters blown into gutters, the glitter of language on cobbles, his words remain, bright as believing or half believing. At the end of the world, there is always the sea and its breathing, swiping right across a blue screen to something beginning. Loom. They are weaving the world and everything that lives in it. They bend over the loom, reading it like a book that will teach them the structure of tulips, crocus heads, roses. If the knot is wrong, they feel the mistake as a glitch in the bones. When their fingers bleed, the borders leak ruby and scarlet. Trees blossom out of season, fruit fills and ripens as if time means nothing, as if pain is only the start of beauty. They are weaving so hard and fast you would think their lives depend on it. They take the tears off their children's faces to fill up the watercourses. They are weaving their times in thread, teaching the loom the way of the world. It hums with business, heaves with the blasphemy of human bodies, hosts of angels, swarms of midges. There is no end to it. Songbirds turn into bombers, gazelles to armored tanks. Snow has no place here, but snow falls on frozen faces. Rivers are choking in sewage, drowning in plastic. On every border there is new danger, drones overhead, walls blasted to rubble. Stairs hang in mid-air over flooded basements, unmoored scaffolds, unfixed railings. Messages appear on the backs of buses. Neon signs call for help. Clubbers spill out, looking for Ubers, demanding bacon rolls or the first train home, vomiting at corners. The one who is tied to the rock by a chain watches the vultures circling down for the succulence inside the liver. Here is a withered garden, trees whipped to the bone. Starlings fall out of the sky, and the weavers bury them in silk. They make up spells and blessings to hold things together till morning, when the children get up out of sleep, bare feet on the floor, windows clattering, doors banging open to let the garden back in. It smells like split melon. The weaver makes a pitch. This is the work of many hands. It contains all of paradise, eaten by moths in one small corner. For you, special price. Seen from a drone, Delhi. People standing in windows, sauntering out of houses, loaded with bags and boxes, laptops, iPads, Kindles and chargers, hairdryers, olives, chocolates. Children, skeleton staff, one maid and driver wending their way up vacant roads to the place in the hills. The nearest neighbour far over the valley, out in the orchards, under the awnings and yellow umbrellas. There they are waving, there they are yawning. Here are the rats behind tinted windows, leaving in convoys, consulting watches and phones, all flashing lights, bullish horns, outriders in sunglasses, powering through, scattering these people who will never learn to keep their distance, who never hear the warnings, herd together like cattle, these jostlers, these fruit sellers, vendors, dressmakers, cobblers, tea boys and hawkers. These cleaners, day labourers, fetchers and carriers, these unskilled workers, these people, ants in an anthill, down there running this way and that, carrying bundles of rags, bundles of bundles that cry like babies, swarming on buses and trains. Stopped. The drone is recording grandmothers, mothers and fathers, daughters and sons heaving burdens, holding each other up, holding each other, illegally touching, gathering, thronging, clustering, clutching, starting the long walk home. The eye of the drone watches them going. Gone. Seen from a drone, Mumbai. On day 5, look how our city is beautified by the absence of these people. Clarified totally, hushed. No chaos now or crowds. Witness this historic moment, sights you would never have thought to see in your lifetime. Here is a bird's eye view of the unburdened flyover, cricketless stadium, unpeopled shore. By permission of the authorities, we are empowered to bring direct to your smartphone these unprecedented scenic scenes from a drone. Feast your eyes on the throne of power, the house of state government, office of police commissioner, this place of worship, its saffron flag. See the sea link snaking over sea, trains like maggots feeding on carcass of station, so much silence, deafening. Our soundtrack is fitting, one long drone, broken only by birds, disturbed on a spiral up to the camera. Then birdsong. Even in lockdown, there is a moral to be found. Nature triumphs. This is what the tweets are saying. Dolphins in Venice went viral. No matter, it was a hoax. Fish were revealed in the canal, and in Llandudno the goats ran wild and joyful in the streets. This is truly happening all over Twitter, all over the world. Seen from a drone. All simplified. Some live, some die. Some rage, some stop. Some clutch their baggage closer. Others drop all they are holding and empty-handed walk on. They are walking. They are walking the night city through the patched pockets and round the frayed edges, asking for change, a coin in the tin, anything. They are coming out of the crevices, the traps in alleys, weaving in and out of the lies, hauling their young behind them, because they heard you say it would be free and fair, and they believed you. They are walking to the edge of grief, where the world's creatures have gathered, the horses and elephants, rabbits and pheasants, with their heads up and down, waiting to be accounted for before their ashes are scattered. They hack through brambles and barbed wire because someone said there is a garden on the other side. When they find the gate, their breath turns jagged with the effort of hoping. There is more than they bargained for, more sound, more touch, more air, too much to bear. They leave their worn shoes outside and shuffle in through banks of lily and iris, trees heavy with orange and almond. Their feet snag on ragged borders. Here are the pilfered jewels, here are the looted mothers, here are the people whose land was taken and given away, and the children sitting in front of screens, learning who is the savior, the superhero, who makes the laws that say they can come or go, leave or stay. They are walking their own plundered hearts, and there is no end to the walking in the garden that is not a garden. No one is watching, so there is no way of knowing if they are still walking, still breathing, or falling over the edge of this poem that is not a poem. Night walk with blackbird. Night walk is long as the dark, dark long as the shadow, shadow long as lost gods, gods long gone as gutted words. Because I have walked so many miles alone, because it has been too long since I saw your face, the rings are falling off my fingers, bangles sliding off my wrists. When I come to count the dead, they do not look like numbers. They look like people who were loved, laid with care on hospital beds. Over the long wailing of the ambulances, a blackbird begins to sing, and I think this is what I mean. This is what I was trying to say all along. For the girl whose hair escaped, the things that can happen in the back of a van. The culprit can be just sitting there, and out of nowhere the jaw comes apart and the teeth are lying on the floor. Amazing if you think about it. Next thing you know, she's lying against the door with cracked ribs, the air squeezed out of her lungs. It's a wonder the way she picks up her body, all the broken bones, climbs to the top of the precinct roof and throws herself off. You wouldn't believe it, but here it is in the report in black and white. White as the light she escapes to, black as her rampant hair. What you can buy with a bangle. Pure soft gold, 24 carats. It buys a way out, but not the way back. It buys a daily wage, a pay packet. It takes the target off her back. It doesn't buy a lock on the door. It doesn't buy a life jacket. What it is like. It's like rummaging around your life, wondering what you can sell to keep things going. It's like gathering every precious thing you have, every necklace and nose ring you own, begging for reluctant favors, calling in the outstanding loans. It's like taking a glass trinket to an emperor who wears your father's emeralds on his head. It's like making a begging bowl of your hands to hold the salty love you have in your heart, like collecting it grain by grain and traveling across deserts to give a handful of salt back to the sea. It was the fault of the clothes. It was the fault of the summer dresses with halter straps, glittery bodices, shiny trainers, slippery anoraks. They were to blame. Born under a hideous flickering green, they spoke the language of authority, learned the ways of the correction facility. The clothes did it all. They were good at following instructions. Cut off this tongue to fit the cloth, tear open this unruly seam, stitch up the mouth. Under a sick light, the polyester roses bloom and bloom. On mute. There is a video recording of the incident. Here is a woman on the station platform. She is lying down. Her face is covered. Her face is covered with a rag, or it could be clothing. She is lying still. There are people standing around her, some with phones. No one is touching her. There is a child holding a corner of her clothing. The child is crying. The tears look real. There is a child who could be crying, but there is no sound. Sweeping. It begins as a wave lapping over the pebbles of sleep, the hush of blood to the heart, a surge on a shore, a slow breathing out, a letting go. The length of the stroke is the scope of an arm, the arc from the hip, the rise and dip of your body as you move the dirt of the living from courtyard to corner. The sweepings, the cells shed off human skin, animal hide, ashes, stains, particles of panic, night sweats, waking fears, the tears of the world. In front of you, the dust of night appears with its news of lost cities, fallen statues, the moon. You bend into it. The motes hang together, caught up in time, testing the borderline between who they have been and where they are going. This broom, this body of twigs slung together and tied with string, sweeps the used days in its wake, soughing away the regrets of a lifetime. It strokes the face of the earth and forgives the waste. Everything moves from dust to dust. All that is lost comes back as love. Night visitors. You can trust no one these days. With daily muggings on the street and talk of burglaries, they call the experts in to set up a network of interlocked alarms, infrared cameras at the entry points, cunning passwords, keys and fobs, sensors that trigger alerts on multiple mobile phones. They are reassured all the things inside are secure: laptops, consoles, golf clubs, miniatures, the collection of samurai swords, designer handbags, watches, rings. Wherever they may be, New York, Abu Dhabi, Beijing, they can watch the periphery. They expect strangers when the alerts begin. A fox skulks out of the bushes. A squirrel steals down a tree. A rat squeezes through a hole in the wall, all caught on camera. And here is one who arrives in the night, not much more than a breath spun into the lens, burnt out to white. All systems switch on to watch it come, an angel in a blur of light. You write a window. This is how you labor through the night at the kitchen table, tallying up again, to get the merciless numbers right. You weigh the loss against the gain. The plumbing or the heating, the buzzing thing that has to be plugged in to work, switched on to keep the household running. You are writing your life in figures. He is gone, and you are awake in the sonnet of a window, the chiming of a house where children come and stay. The paper blazes white. The shadow at your shoulder knows your will. This room, this page, is the sum of all you have to say, and all you have to give, you give away. You are. You are the sound that halts the breath. You are the line that has no stop, the loop in time that says time is nothing. You are the coin that has two sides, one that is owned and one that is owed, the unfinished ode, the offered ring, unsolved riddle, unknown ratio. You are the plate, the brimming cup, mouth of a bell, the drop into a well or tunnel that points through darkness to light. You are the moon, the face in the night that comes and goes, wanes and grows to zero. You multiply to be yourself, uncounted, uncontained. You are the death where release begins, a letting in, a letting go, belly of earth, door to birth. You are encircling arms in hope, in song, in the heart of now. You are the end of no. We are holding. We are holding each other as if this is the last dance of the night, the last song before we lose the light. Let's lie down here on the grass and listen for whatever says good night. But the radiance. But I didn't believe a word he said. The shadow reader predicted the year of my death, not how or where. I shrugged and put it out of my head, but my body believed. There was no way I could die at 35 or 45. I crossed murderous roads, ran red lights in rickshaws, took flights in turbulent skies, watched a plague go by. But in the year of the shadow, I remember the veins on his hand, the finger he licked, the mark on the scroll. I try to read the names of the ones who are dying when it should have been me. But all I can see is the name of the earth right here, written over and over in the dying year. Your session has been terminated. He took my shadow like an unstitched length of cloth, washed the stories out and hung the rest to dry. What's left when the mess is rinsed away? Messages posted everywhere. Parts of speech passers-by can only faintly hear. The best and least of what there is to say before the world shudders to a stop and the frozen frame becomes a shrine to what we were, touched by God, profane. We've lost you. You're breaking up. We'll come back to you when we have a better line. Try switching off and switching on again. It works sometimes. Everywhere the angels. They are here with us, wings thrust into silk and wool, crawling over used surfaces where the body has thrashed and turned and shed its cells, its lovely dust. They leave a trail of eggs that float through warp and weft. The ghost children will stay unnamed, but eat the beauty of this life till there is nothing left of it but indrawn breath. And they will find Jerusalem in hair and fur, the fibre spun from hope and dread, in a lifetime that will last days and hang by a radiant thread. I walk in the shadow. My walk is iambic. I keep the beat. Shall I compare thee to da-dum, da-dum? There's comfort in knowing that as long as the stress is in the right place, and as long as I keep up the pace, it doesn't matter where my feet are going. If I can hear the iamb of my heart, I am not dead yet. My walk is a sonnet. My walk is mashallah. My walk is fuck you, shadow reader.